everyone. Welcome to our webinar today covering a day in the life of an owner, a ConstructionOnline owner. Today, guiding us through the webinar is, of course, myself, Ian Schaefer, one of the senior product specialists here at UDA Technologies, and my colleague, Holly Gibson, one of the other senior product specialists.
Hello, everyone.
And as always, Sydney has graced us with her assistance answering questions, so she's on the other side of the keyboard. So if you guys do have any questions, or you see something particularly interesting for your clients and something that you guys really want to get set up for them, make sure you take a look at that GoToWebinar panel. On there, you'll find an area marked questions. That's the perfect place to chat those questions through to us. Sydney will field any of those answers that she can as we're going, or she'll flag them for us so that we can make sure that we cover those as we're kind of walking through the webinar today. Now, of course, our topic today, a day in the life of a ConstructionOnline owner, is going to focus on our customers. And these are going to be future homeowners or current homeowners, people that we're building for. And so we're going to be focusing heavily on the client interaction through ClientLink, through the web portals and the previews, and how you can set them up, share information, and keep overall ecstatic customers so that they can then, of course, sing your praises to all of your other potential future clients that we hope to be bringing on board with you guys. Now, again, as we're going through that, we're going to be covering a lot of these various different features and tools. But to get started, guys, we'd really appreciate it if you would find that questions panel and let us know what you guys hope to get out of our webinar today. Now, of course, as always, we'd love to know who you are, what your role is with your company, what kind of construction you guys do, if it's residential or remodeling or commercial projects. But again, for us, the most important has always been, and probably will always be, what you guys hope to learn. So go ahead and shoot that over to us as we get started, and we will go ahead and dive in now. Let me set this up and make sure that we have all of our guides available to us. So, of course, this is, webinar number 800 for the year.
Something like that.
Yeah. And so what we've done with most of these webinars and what we typically do with these presentations and these discussions is we talk about how you and your team will be using the tools regularly to document everything that's happening on your jobs, to set up a lot of the information that's going to be available for you and your teams within the ConstructionOnline system. Today we're going to be taking a lot of that information and focusing in on how we share with the customer. And to begin with, what you always want to do is you want to make sure that you guys have a public profile set up. Before we start diving into the details for the job, just a quick peek on where to set those public profiles up, guys. If you click on the company name in your top right corner, you'll find an area there that is that's set up for the public profile settings and for your ClientLink and TeamLink settings. Now start with your public profile because this is going to be a huge lead capture option. When you go to the public profile settings, you guys can make some adjustments and share details on how you want your web page to look, what kind of information you want to share on that web page, like your company information, testimonials, even galleries and some successful projects that you've had in the past. This is your face. This is how you're going to be found on search engines like Google or Bing. And as you make this information available, this is also where your customers are going to be going to log into their projects on a daily basis. So it's very, very important that you guys spend a few minutes setting this up. And if you have any questions about what it looks like, you can also go down to and preview that page here, which just gives you, again, a quick page at a glance. Now, as Holly was kind of scanning through in there, there's also some options to set up your lead capture settings. I think we talked about that in a webinar maybe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, perhaps. It's a fantastic tool for bringing in new leads and having it automatically populate into your ConstructionOnline contacts list and your lead pipeline. And then whoever you have as your sales manager, today in this case it's going to be Holly, gets to divvy up those leads and assign them out to our sales reps so that we can then nurture them through that pipeline. So again, as you're setting up all that information, public profile is the face. This is where everybody's going to go to log in. It's also going to be a great tool for lead capture. But once they get in, once your clients are actually logging into the platform, this is when the magic happens. Now, there's a lot of information that you can share, and most of it is going to be feature-based. So as we're looking at this page, you guys have access to fantastic tools like calendars for your jobs and photo streams and files and documents, to-do lists and punch lists, all of these great tools. Some of them we want to share with the customer, And when we're sharing, a lot of those are going to be shared through the ClientLink and TeamLink settings, also available here through this dropdown. Now, of course, we're staging most of this. We're talking about setting up what we're going to share and how we want to communicate with the customers. And it's been my experience working with various different construction companies over the past 10 years that each company is a little different and they have preferences on what their clients, or what your clients can see. This is where you pick. So what you can do here is you can turn on features so that your clients can see these too, and that's what becomes available when you preview. Now, of course, a big reason why we talk about this is UDA Technologies is a construction company. We've been managing, I think our numbers are somewhere around $80 billion worth of projects daily. And we've got almost 700,000 users in the system working with all the different tools and resources. And so different people want to paint different pictures.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, one thing I've learned from working with so many of you over the years is that every company truly does have, a lot of things in common. Every company also has, differences in how they approach not only the building process, but how they approach their relationships with their clients. The types of jobs that you're doing often really come into play very heavily in terms of what your client expectations are, the type of relationship you have with them, even, sometimes just differences in individual clients, even within the same company that I'm working with. There may be differences there in terms of, what that client expects or tech savviness sometimes of those individual clients. So we definitely have worked hard to make sure that this is such not only an impressive tool for your clients to use, but also a really easy one as well. Because I think one kind of common thread that I've seen over the years is that every year that passes and technology becomes more and more advanced, the more a tool like a ClientLink portal becomes really expected. It's not a nice to have. Maybe, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it's a nice to have thing that maybe you've added on for your clients. Every year that passes, we see that becoming though more and more of an expectation that the clients will have a place where they can log on and access their project information, access their files, be able to be kept up to date in a digital way, even when you have a really great kind of close face-to-face, relationship with that client. This type of access has just really become the industry standard.
Absolutely. And so in order to meet that expectation, to meet that need, we want to make sure that we're providing all of the tools and the resources, but as a really wonderful kind of side effect to having all of these features and all the content available through your very own custom web page here on Construction Online. The beautiful side effect is it's also going to control how frequently your customer tries to show up on job sites or call you at strange hours like 8 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday or whatever it might be, 10 o'clock at night on Wednesday. We're providing them with everything that they ask for on a regular basis to make sure that, well, really, they leave us alone so we can focus on what we need to get done, which is building their perfect house.
That's right. Now, of course, that's what we want that big picture focus to be. Now, when we start getting into the nuts and bolts of how we put this together, though, I know that there are a couple of things that I get questions about all the time from my customers, especially when they're first getting set up with using the client interaction in Construction Online. The two most common questions are really, first of all, how much control do I have and how can I control what the client is going to see? And the next question is always, how can I be sure? How do I know what it looks like, from my customer's perspective? And so I think that'll be a good place for us to start today, not only looking at how easy it is to turn things on and off. And Ian, like you said, that's just going to be located in this drop down here. And you can see how easy it is to make these selections and turn features on and off in the portal. What this is doing, of course, is turning that particular tool on or off. But just because we turn on, let's just say, files, it doesn't mean that the client automatically gets access to all your files, right?
Well, hang on now. Because one of the things that I see happen very often when we're setting these up it is that exactly. Mm-hmm. What we're turning on right now is we're turning on the feature so that when the customer goes into their portal, they can see an area called Files. or called change orders, or called estimating, or whatever it is. Not in my case. I don't think I've ever shared an estimate with a client directly, but you can. You have the option. Now, once you do that, and you turn on the feature, again, the feature starts empty, because, of course, this is all about control and managing expectations as we're working with this. Now, for recent files, usually what you'll find in a lot of older platforms may go into and have some option to copy files over to a customer portal or a ClientLink portal, or God forbid you guys are still using something like Dropbox where you've got to share them into a folder in Dropbox and then set permissions on that folder and then send them a link to the folder and then they have to download Dropbox and install it. It's a little complicated. This makes it certainly simpler by turning on the feature. They log in and there it is right there in front of them. Once you get those turned on though, you still have the option to either copy over files to them, or more importantly, and Holly, kind of to your point, you can also automatically upload files to a folder that is shared through to your ClientLink section. Now this I recommend more than anything else. You've got steps that you can cut out every day by simply linking things like folders over to your clients, or coming in here and sharing the calendar with your customer and setting it up so that they can see the full project calendar, including the Gantt chart, although most of our clients never really understood how the Gantt would flow. But the beauty of this is they can see the schedule with the Gantt chart, or they can look at the month view, which is what they're going to default to.
That's right. Or like with schedules, we could maybe only show the milestones to them. So you'll notice as you go through, and we won't go through each of these individually, but you'll notice that many of these have additional options. So for example, with the files and photos, we're going to turn that on in the portal, and then we'll jump into that additional control in a moment here. With change orders and selections, we're going to turn those on and also decide if clients are going to be automatically notified of those via email, which in most cases we do want them to receive those notifications and reminders. When we're looking at, say, like a schedule, you again have that control to maybe be able to show them the whole Gantt chart. Maybe we want to only show them milestones on the calendar. That's totally up to you, kind of based on the amount of detail that you want to provide to your customer. Now, once we've come through and made the selections about what we want to be included, we'll just save this, and now that's going to control which options show up in the portal for the client. And the really beautiful thing here is if you uncheck any of those, there's just not a space for it in the client portal. They never know that they're missing anything. It's not like there's a giant black hole that says selections and they're like, wait a minute, where are those? Or what am I supposed to be doing here? They never even know that it was supposed to be there. So great way to not only control it, but just still provide that great experience for your client. Now, when we look at some of the common things that people do want to share with their customers, it's also worth noting that, a really, really common area there is going to be those files and photos. And with that, Ian, like you mentioned, there are two great options for doing that. So when we come into our file section and you hit this all files, really what you're looking at here is files for the entire project, and the default here is going to be access for that internal project team. That's going to be for your company employees. None of these are as yet automatically shared out with any of our ClientLink or TeamLink members, and you have that permission control. But if we do want to share with the customer, it's just as easy as coming into that folder, choosing that right click, copying over to the client portal. So like you mentioned, that's one way to do it, where we just take this folder, we copy it over, and it just makes a copy of everything that's in that folder, and it's going to place it here in our ClientLink files section. Now, if you wanted to have a folder where you didn't have to kind of manually update, if you felt pretty confident that you really wanted to just have a place where you could drop things and it's automatically going to go to the client, then there's a setting for that too. You'll make a quick edit on the folder here. So you're going to come in here, you're going to look at your folder options. So that right click menu again, options for the folder, and then you can turn on your ClientLink sharing. And what this is going to do is activate sharing so that anything that is now dropped into this folder is going to automatically be shared with your clients. And you can tell that it's automatically shared by the little key icon that we see here.
Now, for those of you who are curious, I do find that this is the easiest method for communication with all of our clients. Copying them over is useful in some situations. Sometimes you may even want to just upload it directly to the ClientLink files, and that's okay too. But if you really want to keep all of this information flowing seamlessly, that key word that I hear all the time, we just want it to be seamless. This is how it's done. Just right-click on your folders, make sure that you go to options and share them with ClientLink or TeamLink if we're sharing it automatically with subs, and look for those icons as you're moving the files around. And then if you wanted to take something like the ClientLink startup guide that we have down in the lower left corner and drag it and drop it in and share it with the customer too, all you have to do is exactly that. Click and hold on the ClientLink startup guide, drag it up to and drop it in the folder, and again, it's automatically available to our customers now. If we needed to add extra things, drag and drop them in there, move folders in there, and it's all live linked. Now this is really, really handy too, because once you do this, once you set up those folders, that can become part of your templated process as well. Your project can already have all your standard folders, they can already be shared. In fact, you can set up that structure right now. For all of you who are watching in the webinar, you could set it up right now and save it as part of that template with all the live linked folders and everything, so that you guys never even have to worry about remembering to do that. And it just sets the habit, sets that muscle memory, so that you guys are just operating well.
Now, we do have a great question coming in, so I think before we jump into that client view, which I know is, again, one of those burning questions that everyone has when you're getting that client portal set up, we do have a great question about, adding clients in the beginning and maybe not having them get any communication. So when we add a ClientLink member to a project, they are going to receive an email letting them know that you, as their builder, have created a client login for them, and it's going to give them a link to come right to your portal and go ahead and log in. That is for live or active projects. Now, if you want to have a period of time where you can set a project up and go ahead and start building that without having the client actually have any access or start to get any of those emails, when you're creating that project, you can create it as a pending project. That's going to be here in your project status. So when a project is set to pending, email invites aren't going out, none of that communication is happening, and then when you switch it to live, that's when the client gets the email at that time. So that can be a great way to really give yourself a window of time when you're creating new projects to come in, maybe add some of those additional details to the job, really get everything set up nicely for the customer and kind of start building things before sharing out with your clients.
Now, of course, for those of you who are looking as well, it looks like we do have a lot of clients here who have been a part of our ConstructionOnline platform now for a long time. Some of you may have noticed that there is an option now to also disable email notifications for some of the systems like change orders and selections. This helps too. So if you are concerned about providing too much information or inundating your customers with emails as you're setting everything up, it's the perfect time to just go in there and disable those email notifications for something like selections. Especially, some of you mentioned that you're custom home builders, which could mean at times that you might have a selection set that's maybe 100 or 150 items long. If that happens, you always have the option to turn off those emails temporarily, go in, set up everything that you need to set up, and then you can just turn the email notifications back on. Then the customer would start getting email notifications for just new ones that are being added. Personally, I still like sending the customer an email for everything, simply because of the way I manage my emails. Whenever I receive those 100 emails, I'll put them all in a folder in my Outlook that says, selections to be made. And as I make my decisions, I'll actually just start moving them into another folder, already approved selections, and that's kind of how I keep things organized. So it's a good conversation to have with your customers, certainly. And in our case, we now provide at least two options, sometimes more in various different areas, to allow you to provide the most favorable method of communication for your client as well.
That's right. And those emails, of course, are there to help keep the clients on track as much as the portal is. We found that most customers really appreciate that nudge or reminder. They appreciate being kept in the loop about what's happening. And remember that the system isn't going to share things out with them that you don't want them to have access to. So they're only going to be getting those emails about information that you, as their builder or contractor, have really deemed relevant for them. Now, probably the second most common question I get is that question of, well, how do I know what my client is seeing? How do I know what that looks like? And we're going to spend a good bit of the webinar today actually logged into a client portal, interacting with Construction Online as if we are in fact the client. But before we dive into that, I do want to make sure that all of you know about a great option that we built in for Construction Online 2019 that allows you to actually go into the system and be able to see a preview of exactly what your client's seeing. So you are able to actually go into their portal, see what it looks like, see what that access feels like, make sure that you're happy with how that translates for your customers. Now, of course, you can get to that from this drop down here and choose the preview portals option. But since we're already inside our Smith residence project, all we have to do is come to our team area here. We're going to choose Poly and choose preview portals. And what that's going to do is go ahead and take me right into the portal for my client. I can see here that I'm previewing, and you can start to see that this now does look different than it does when you log into Construction Online. So we're able to confirm, okay, I've made some selections here about what I'd like my client to see. I do want them to have access to some photos and files that I've shared. I do want them to see, that calendar or schedule. So I'm just going to come in and do that preview to make sure that I know where everything is from my customer's perspective in case they have questions, make sure that I'm really happy with how this looks as it's being shared out with my clients.
And again, as you're looking at this, you'll notice that the interface, like how we move around and how we navigate in here, is still pretty similar to what you're working with on your Construction Online interface. You'll have similar features up at the top for things like files and photos. We set it up this way deliberately because a lot of our customers, your clients, will be calling you to get help navigating around, or they'll be calling somebody in your office, and it's really easy if you all speak the same terms and guide them in the same way that you operate. We found that that's the easiest way to make sure that people can find what they're looking for or can help other people find what they need. And so we have made it very similar. Some of the key differences, though, that you'll find when you've got a customer logged in, over on the far left side, there's a few projects there in the customer's project list, in the ClientLink project list. Below that, you've got some options to easily connect with the project creator, adjust the password for, again, our ClientLink user. If they want to reset their password, they can do it here, or they can adjust their email address or some of the other details as well. This way, your clients can actually control how the information is being provided to them rather than being stuck with the first email that was set up. Mm-hmm. If there's another email address that they prefer to get everything sent to, maybe they set up a joint email for a married couple who's got you guys working on the house for them. That joint email is going to be really easy for them to adjust into here. They'll also have some degree of control over their own notification settings. So for all of the standard information, like we've got 20 new photos that have been uploaded, that email notification could come to them that says, hey, take a look at all the great activity that's happening on your job today. Mm-hmm. That allows them to go through and kind of adjust those notifications. Maybe they want 2-a-day emails. Maybe they want 4-a-day emails. Maybe they want just the one and they're happy with that. Or maybe you've got somebody who's way too eager to see everything that's happening as it happens and they want immediate notifications. They have that control. They can set it up so that it provides them information as they are most comfortable without necessarily requiring you guys to invest hours and hours of your own time trying to get it configured correctly.
That's right. Now, one thing you'll notice as Ian was talking there, and we're clicking through some of these options, is that when you're in preview mode for your client, you see we're in a preview mode here. So I'm still logged in as myself, and I'm able to see what my client is seeing. I can click through these tabs and areas, really make sure that I'm happy with the way all of this is appearing and, with the level of detail that I've chosen to share. But you'll also notice that if I try to actually maybe approve anything, or maybe I try to send a message, it's going to let me know I actually can't do this in preview mode. So when we think about giving you the level of control that you want, you as the builder or contractor there have tons of control over how this is going to appear, but you can't actually log in as your client and make approvals, as them. So that really maintains, your safety and security and theirs as well. So you're able to really see a lot, but you won't be able to actually do a lot in that preview mode. It's going to be more of a portal for you to take a peek in, but your client and your privacy is still protected and your security is there. The client is going to actually have to go ahead and log in and do that, which they'll love to do. It's a great portal to work in. So if we actually switch over, we are logged in. We've got a different browser up, so we'll go ahead and just pull this information up here. We're actually logged in as our customer, Polly, and now you'll see that since I've actually logged in, I am, of course, our customer, and I will be able to, as we kind of come through here, start to use some of these options. So, if I wanted to contact the project creator, it's going to allow me to send a new message to, well, in this case, to myself, but maybe to you, Ian, as the builder there.
Or sometimes.
If I want to edit my password, I'll have a place to do that. So all of these options for your clients, of course, are live. They're just not things that you'll be able to adjust in preview mode.
Yep. And now, again, just to reiterate that point, we have a second browser open. This one's open in Firefox, simply to show you what that preview, or show you how the customer interacts with all these things. Remember, take a look in the top right corner, way up here. If it says that you're in preview mode, a lot of these features and functions are going to be disabled because you're not the customer. In this case, you're not the ClientLink user. You're interacting with it. It's a great way. That preview is a fantastic tool for bringing the customer into the office and kind of giving them that 5-minute tour in the beginning. Mm-hmm. But again, as they're working with it, they're going to have a little bit more access. There's going to be a couple of more features for them to work with, more pictures, more selection due dates. Their notifications are going to be a little bit different. You can see it as they see it, but you can't approve as they approve. So always keep that in mind. If you see the badge or you see the little pop-up down in the bottom right corner that says you're in preview mode, leave it alone.
Right, that's what it means. Exactly.
That's it. Now,
exactly.
as the customer, though, again, we have access to the most important parts of this job to keep everything moving well. We can contact that project creator, like Holly said. We can just send emails back and forth. And the beauty of that, by the way, is when you do post the message there, the message shows up under the communication tab. But most importantly, Polly here would be able to send Holly an email. Choose interesting names there, Holly. Polly could send Holly an email through messaging. Holly would then be able to reply to Polly quite easily. Simply by hitting reply on the email. You don't even have to hit reply all. It automatically feeds into the system and contacts everybody who's associated with it. So this is the best means for communicating. Beats email communication hands down. If I'm the project manager on this job, but Holly's the creator for the job, we both get these notifications in these emails. If Polly ClientLink thinks that she's only supposed to be replying to me personally, well, that means that I can never not be available. And Holly is probably going to want to know what's going on for the jobs too. So we've just set it up so that all the information and communication is stored within the job so that you guys get that information back. You'll also see as we start to put together some of the additional pictures and documentation and we start to put in selections and everything like that, our ClientLink users, when they go to areas like financials, where they're going to be taking a look through their client selection list, if they have any questions or concerns, that Contact Project Creator is still available there over on the left-hand side. So if there's some thought that pops into their head when they're looking at all of the front doors that are going to be available, for example, maybe they want one that's majority glass, they could just pop over to Contact Project Creator. All of us in the office at Gibson Construction would get the notifications about this, who are working on the project, of course, and then we can have a sit-down and a discussion. That one email from the customer triggers that, and we don't have to call everybody up and wrangle all of our team members together and schedule meetings with everybody involved. Again, the benefit here that you guys may not be considering yet by just having simple communication tools like that available through the portal is astronomical. Everything gets communicated through to everybody involved very quickly and very easily.
It does, and that's one of the things that, again, when I help a lot of new clients get started with Construction Online, I help a lot of people as they are, kind of looking for the best system to implement for their company. And one of the common things that people are really trying to accomplish is to improve that project communication across the board, not only for internal teams, but to be able to really improve communication with extended team members, clients, owners. And this is just a great way to do that. Now, as we've logged in here as the client, you can see that their homepage does look different than yours. If you have a client that you do multiple jobs for, if you have a client or maybe an owner or an investor where you do have several projects, they do still have access to those here, so they can look into different jobs that you may be working on for them. In addition to these great options here that, again, are going to be always visible. So, Ian, like you mentioned, that's just a huge benefit as they're going through the system. They're going to have, a quick way to kind of get up to speed. When your client logs in, they're going to see, this week on the calendar. And notice that this is not only showing the schedule items or things that might be on the calendar, but it's also going to show their due dates as well. So I've got this client assigned to a few selections. Those are going to show up on their calendar here. That would apply if it was a due date for something like a change order, a due date maybe for an RFI that you needed them to respond to on a commercial job or something like that. So you've got some great tracking here on the calendar, not only for the schedule, but for really any of those due dates associated with the job. They can see quickly when they have new items here in their latest update. So, as the client, I can now see that I'm overdue on one of my selections. I can see that I've got a couple of new messages in the system. And as I start to click through these tabs, they are going to have different options. Now, of course, they can usually jump right to that item just by clicking on it here. But I do want to show you guys that when we're looking at the project team, their view is a little bit different here as well. So Ian, you were mentioning kind of keeping that entire team in the loop and keeping your clients up to date as to maybe who they should contact for certain things. This is going to come from the key roles that you set up when you first create your project. And this really allows your client to come in and see again, a condensed perhaps and definitely controlled by you view of who's on their project team. So you get to decide which names show up here and what role they're playing. And that allows the client to see maybe there's a selections coordinator or a project manager or a production coordinator for the schedule or something like that, so that they can understand who they should contact, and they have contact details including phone numbers, email addresses, and easy ways to send those messages right from the portal to any of the project key team members that you've designated for them here.
Now, of course, as you continue to move across the top, some of these features are very straightforward. We've talked about files already. Most of you guys have document management in mind when you're looking through this, and it's a great way to be able to share most of the information for those. There's also great preview tools as well, so when you're opening up files, if you wanted to share them with customers, you can provide detailed previews for photos or for files, PDFs, anything like that if you guys wanted to. If you scroll down a little bit here, you'll also see the area where your clients, in this case us as Poly ClientLink, we would be uploading new files. Maybe these are signed contracts that we wanted to share, or pictures that we took when we were visiting our family members across the state or the country, whatever it is. If we've got ideas, obviously ClientLink users will be uploading them here. Photos, just like on your side, the photo system is just going to provide like a little photo stream so that they can see the most recent progress up top, and then it kind of goes backwards through. You can actually create little photo albums too, so if you guys wanted to show all of the landscaping work, you could do that. If you wanted to show a lot of additional details in there, you can organize your photos and some of the additional information in there. But next big area from that, though, is probably going to be under the communication. These are the most commonly clicked areas: files, photos, and communication. Communication, of course, just like on your side, that's going to be most of the messaging, RFIs, submittals on the commercial projects, all of the additional details there. And again, as you're clicking through and taking a look at these, most of the information and most of the detail that they are seeing has been set up and confirmed by you so that they can follow along with this. Now, again, just quick note on the communication portion here. All of these emails are going back and forth. The messaging system for them is going to be kind of like the project-specific outbox or inbox. So as we're working with this, instead of them going back and forth between Outlook and your public profile, if it's job-specific, they can find it all right here. They'll also be able to, of course, see all the emails that the system is providing for them as well in their Outlook or their Gmail or whatever it is. But most importantly, this is a very clean, easy way to see what communication is being taken care of, so you can see it here. Now, beyond that, beyond those three very straightforward, easy-to-use features in files, photos, and communication, the next most common that we hope they're working with is financials. This is where you're going to see them going into and taking a look through the client selections and the change orders as they pop up. This is where they're going to be going into and approving selection options or saying, yes, let's move forward with those change orders. This is also where they're going to be signing off on those as well. So what you'll find with most of these is when they come into and take a look under change orders or selections, there's this great little summary section near the top that shows them all the selections and some that are coming up most recently. How do you describe that? The ones that are on the verge of being due or overdue first. I know there's a word for that, but for whatever reason it escapes me at the moment. But as you're working down through this, we've got the overall selection summary afterwards, and then the specific selections down below. Quick pro tip, if you guys haven't already used this, the selection portion in here, up at the top in the summary, those are links. If you click on any of the selections that have to be made there, it actually automatically takes you down to the selection area. So think of that as kind of like your index. As they're working through it, they can just click on one of those. It takes them right to the selection that needs to be made, at which point they'll see the 2, 5, 100 different options available within each of those selections. Or if you choose to share it with them, they can actually upload new things to that selection set too. Otherwise, though, as you're looking through this, it's a fantastic little summary. It shows them all the allowance amounts, just like you probably have at the top of your proposals, especially if you're generating them from ConstructionOnline. All of the selection sets that you guys have here will also show the cost impact as well. As you can see here, Holly, on this job, the Poly ClientLink team here has already gone over budget on the first couple of items. So they immediately know that they're already $700 over their allowance amounts, their net allowances. And so maybe that means that they're going to choose a couple of less expensive options down when they get to flooring or electrical fixtures. Probably not, though.
Probably not, but at least now, that it won't be a surprise. They can see very clearly, this is what our budget was. We've gone a little bit over that amount. That's visible to them. That it's visible to them. So, again, that visibility to everybody is so important. Now, as they're going through, you'll notice that I've got a couple of selections here that Polly has already approved. So this is what they see. Once they've approved a selection, they are able to still log in, see the information for what they've approved. And if they want to go back and view what those other options were, they can. We don't show that by default. We'd kind of rather get that out of mind at that point and really have them focusing on the choices they have made. As you continue on, you'll notice that there are a couple of other cases here. So we've got a pending selection here for the dishwasher. And that is going to be something that I am actually not able to approve any longer as the client. So it's just letting me know here that this was actually due for my approval on February 4th. So I'm pretty significantly overdue at this point, or Polly is. And it's letting me know really in order to approve, the builder is going to need to adjust the due date. And it allows them to, at that point, send you a message if they want to do it. This, again, is such a great, small but really also great tool for you because it really protects you against, assigning due dates that don't mean anything. And the client comes back a month later and, maybe makes a change or approves something late. This really gives you the option to review that. It may be that the price on that needs to go up a little bit at this point because there's a lot of things that might have to happen now. You're gonna potentially have to schedule installs earlier or put a rush on materials, or it might delay other things. And so this allows them to see that they can still do something here, but they're not going to be able to actually make that approval on something that's overdue. Now, as we move down the page, you'll notice that there are selections in this case that are due this week. So I've got one that needs to be made by tomorrow. And in this case, the builder or Gibson Construction has uploaded for Polly some options for her to choose from based on, probably discussions that we've had along the way. So she'll be able to come in and make a choice here. So let's go ahead and approve that. And it's just confirming, yep, that's what I want to do. And then it's going to ask for a signature. So, each time that your client is approving a change order or selection, Ian's laughing at my signature a little bit right now. It's hard to do with the mouse sometimes, but remember, if they're on an iPad, maybe they're signing this with their finger. And either way, we've got such a great digital signature now that we've captured on each one of these approvals. So we're getting that quick stamp of approval. So fast and easy for the client, but also such great documentation for you, and the client had fun doing it.
Mm-hmm. And now, to add to that too, really quickly, we have at times been asked, what we recommend for like field staff, devices to use when you're out on the job site, and what are you going to work with there. Internally, we've actually taken to using the Microsoft Surface Pro constantly. We've got several of them that we bring to trade shows. I bring them everywhere I go when I'm on trainings and things like that. The best part about the Surface is it's a full touchscreen and it comes with a pen. So when you're standing there on the job site with the customer and they're approving selections, well, the beauty of it is it's going to ask for that signature. You hand them the little digital pen for the Surface. They sign off on it, and it's a little less awkward than signing with a mouse. So as they're working through it, though, again, it's a great way to capture that digital signature. And if you guys are looking for tools to provide, we've had great experience with tablets, even more so, though, with the Surface Pro. And so we highly recommend taking advantage of those if you guys can get one.
Now, on the selection side, there's a couple of other options that your clients are going to have. And this is a pretty common question, too. A lot of times I'll work with people kind of, again, depending on the types of jobs that you guys are working on. It may be something really custom on the residential side. It may be, a commercial project where there's a different type of customer interaction. What if I want to be able to show my client what the budget is, but I'm not really providing them choices? I want them to be able to kind of go shopping with that or try to figure out what to do with their budget. And in that case, you are able to, add them a category and a selection. You'll notice that here I've made a selection for hardwood on the first floor and provided an allowance for my client, but they can actually come into the portal and add a selection choice for me as their builder to approve. So the client will be able to come in. They have access to the same great tools, by the way, that you do, so they can type that information in manually, or they can install the selection picker tool, which is going to allow them to kind of go online shopping and pull that information from different websites or vendors that they may be looking at and really easily import that into their portal, just like you can do. And then when they enter this information and type it in, you're going to get a notice that the client has added a new selection and needs your approval on it. So, they can't just add and approve things without you looking at it, but they are able to add things that you as the builder or contractor can come back and say, yep, this looks like it will be a viable option for us, or maybe no, it won't. But either way, you're able to have some really great interaction with your clients on that selection side of things.
And again, it does give them the ability to work with, if they have their own rep that they're going to be working with, or if they've got an interior designer or a decorator that they want to work with too, you have the option to share a lot of that information with them too, so they can actually go through and kind of work within the bounds of all these different things that they're going to be working with. You can share basically access to all of these features and these functions with them and with anybody that they want to work with, because once again, sometimes you're going to have customers who do have an additional point of contact that's going to be trying to organize their new living space. And this is just a really, really easy way. It's almost like Pinterest in most cases.
It is.
It's just a really easy way to kind of gather together some ideas. None of them are going to be hard and fast. As you can see here, it doesn't even give us the option to approve it until Holly at Gibson Construction says, yes, we can actually order that. But at least as the customer, we can start pooling our ideas. We can start putting things together. We can start painting the picture that we kind of want to have, and we can kind of go from there. Now, of course, in this case too, we're kind of navigating over to what our client selection site looks like, just to give you an idea now with this new item that's been added. So when you scroll down, there it is. It's got the little lock. We've already got the email, Holly. I'm sure you probably got that email.
That's right,
along
yeah.
with 500 others in your inbox. But this just provides a great little visual to say, hey, customers adding some new things. Can we get this? And this way, if they find some fire sale where they're selling some kind of weird flooring option for pennies on the dollar, we could say, no, I don't think so.
Don't think you're going to be happy with the quality there, but let's look at some other options. So just great interaction. Now let's go back to our portal and take a look also at the other big thing under our financials section, which is going to be those change orders. So this is probably one of the most common, outside of file and photo updates, probably those change order approvals are, one of the best ways that you can use the portal. It's a great way for your customers, just like with selections, and you kind of see the same types of tools available where we're able to see really quickly. As the client, when I log in, I can see, what I've approved so far. If I have anything pending or overdue, that's going to show up as well. I can also see this great summary, which is probably one of my favorite things here. So this is going to show to me where we started with the project, how many change orders I've approved, what were they, what was that final amount, where my total project cost is landing now. It's also going to show me an approval for extended workday. So not only have I approved additional money on the job, I've also approved additional time. So that's going to show me as the client exactly what that looks like. And then also I would be able to see that I in fact still do owe the $12,000. No payments have been recorded for these change orders here that I've approved. And again, as we go down the page, we can now start to look at those individual change orders, the details for those here.
Now, one of the other things, we actually have a couple of people who have sharp eyes here, which is great. So some of you guys have started asking about the little pin icon that we've got on some of the things like change orders. So if you scroll down and take a look at the change orders, there's the little red pin icon representing that the change order has actually been attached to the set of plans in Redline. And what that does then is, Holly, I think you just clicked on one of them, did you not?
I did. So you'll be able to click the link. So you have an option here to view in Redline. And because this has been pinned in the Redline plan room, which we have in this case given our clients access to view, they'll be able to click on that, head over to Redline, and be able to view the plan that is associated with here. So they can really easily jump to that correct plan set, be able to take a look at that information. And of course that all of the tools are going to be located here in their panel as well.
And so again, this allows you to better describe or make sure that your customers understand what we're talking about here. Some of these options like window upgrade or countertop upgrade, if this is a pub, there's probably going to be several areas where that countertop upgrade might come into play. It could be actually in the kitchen, or it could be out front at the bar top, or it could be in the back bar or the side bar or any of the other bars. But as you're setting this up, if you have that availability shared with your customers so that they can go into and see the set of plans that you guys have in Redline, then you can also kind of improve that communication and the understanding by having those items pinned, by having the link in place so the customer can just click on it and follow it, see in the plans, and better visualize what's going on. For me, I found that that's probably the most impactful sales tool on the selection side as well. Since those selections can also be pinned to the plans, if you do have multiple bedrooms, it's really easy to make sure that the customer understands which selections apply to which room, because in this case, everything's pinned. If they're looking at 5 different carpet choices that they have to make for carpet colors, they can actually go into the set of plans here, switch over to selections, and start looking through the flooring options. When they click on one, it pops up on the plans, so they know which choice they're making and what it's going to impact. And this way they don't end up with some kind of, hot pink or baby blue carpeting in the master bedroom instead of in the 4-year-old's room, whatever it may be. Those kind of mistakes are kept to a minimum by having something as, I don't want to call it simple, but it's one of those kind of obvious communication tools that people don't that they don't think about enough.
That's right. And it's one of the things that's really unique to using the Construction Online platform as well, is that you do have access to not only give your customers access to those plans through their portal, but you have access to create those relationships and links so that it's really easily accessible for them, and they can really take advantage of a lot of the same powerful tools and just great visual ways of mapping things out and really envisioning their project, just like you can in the system. Now, with change orders, of course, there's going to be an importance of not only being able to review the change order, really understand what that's pertaining to, but also get that signature. So if we wanted to, make kind of a new change order for our client, that's going to be something that, of course, you would come through and do that again just by filling out the form. So again, super easy. This client's going to request some more electrical upgrades from us, so we're going to kind of note kind of the reason for these changes. We're going to say that we got it today and we need them to go ahead and approve it tomorrow. We're not adding any work days here, and we can go ahead and put in an additional cost. Link to our estimate if we'd like. If it's something where you need to add an attachment or kind of a visual picture, you can do that here. And then lastly, you'll have your status. Now, when you are creating change orders for your clients, this is something that you'll want to pay attention to. The status really determines whether or not the client is able to see it. If the client has requested something, maybe that's a little bit larger, where you feel like you need to take a little extra time, maybe put together, a lengthier document on what's going to be included, or kind of outline some additional terms, or just maybe look into costing a little bit more so on your side. Or sometimes the client requests change orders of some of your team members who aren't really approved to do them, but we want those team members to be able to go ahead and begin the change order. So that's where draft mode is going to come in. Draft just allows you to start writing up a change order without making that live or available to the client. They don't get an email. It's not going to show up in their portal. You could just create that in draft mode, and that's just something that you internally are working with. Now, when we're ready to go ahead and share that with our client in the portal, we're going to edit the change order and set it to pending approval. This is what's going to go ahead and send that email to the customer. So it's going to let them know that they have a new change order awaiting their approval. And it's what is also going to cause that change order to now show up in their portal. So if we head back over and look at Polly's portal, we'll see that, there's going to be a new change order there. When she logs in, she'll get the email, take her right to that change order. We can see here that there's a new one for us. And just like with the selection, when the client comes in and makes their approval, they're going to have a chance to confirm that they are in fact approving. And then they're going to be able to go ahead and enter that signature, which is great for you guys because this is going to automatically appear on any of those change order contract or documents that you create. So you've got the signature digitally, and then you can print it up. It's just going to appear on the PDF for you.
And again, as you're working through a lot of these too, not only are those change order reports going to be available, you can print up the reports or run the change order documents. As you can see here in the top right corner, you've got the ability to print one of those. We've got the summary views available for the customers at all time. And what this does, what all these different options allow you to do with the selections and with Redline and with calendars and with change orders and photo streams, and even if you go under project tracking, you can see things like to-do lists. Mm-hmm. What this does is it allows your customers to be kept up to date on everything that they're working on with you on those projects, so that they don't accidentally cause delays on these jobs. They know with the calendar tools when their due dates are coming up. With those due dates, they can click into them and see exactly what's showing up on the selection side so that they can start approving those selections. Of course, as we talked about previously, those selections can actually be connected to milestones as well. So the due date for the selections could be traveling around on the calendar with the milestones if there are schedule updates. But once again, what we hope to do with these, and what you guys can do if you're diligent, is you can eliminate most of the customer-driven delays and additional costs getting lost by having all of your documentation put together here and communicating those needs and those deadlines to your customers. In addition, all of the notifications can be set up so that they're getting those regular emails too. So you have that additional assurance to let you know when the information is coming together and what sort of details are provided. That, coupled with the fact that you can preview this anytime you want, means that you never have to worry about your clients misunderstanding the details that you put together for them. They always have it right there. It's always accessible 24/7. So if you do have one of those late night partiers and they want to check things out when they're at the bar at 2 o'clock in the morning, no problem. They don't have to call you up. They can just pull it up on their phone, share it with their friends, do whatever they need to do, and you guys have that information available to you there. It also helps, by the way, a lot of our clients have started working with customers who are out of state or sometimes even out of the country. So if they are in a different location, again, no issues there. Maybe we just start taking some more pictures on some of these projects so that they have a better idea with the visuals. But you don't have to worry about the regular phone calls or the concerns or anything like that. You can just work with your team to make sure that everything is thoroughly documented so that the clients get more information than they would have had they even been here in person. So again, you have great tools and resources. And of course, they can access it anytime, which is my favorite part.
They can access it anytime. They can, access it using the mobile app. We even will do a kind of custom branded version of that mobile app for you so that your clients will be downloading your Gibson Construction app instead of a UDA app, even though the UDA app is, of course, great for them. We know that you might want to have your branding really at play there. So a lot of great ways for your clients to access. Another common question that I get, and I see that we've got a ton of questions coming in as we head to the top of the hour. I know that we are running out of time, so we'll want to go ahead and wrap up, even though I do see a lot of great questions there. So we'll try to get to as many of those as we can. If we don't get to yours, feel free to just reach out to us directly after this webinar. Either of us are happy to help answer those questions, run through those items with you. One common question, though, that I get is, is the client portal really only for homeowners? Is this really a residential thing?
Yeah, and actually, I would say in that case, no, absolutely not. The beauty of the client portal in this case is that it's a really great repository of information. So if you are flipping houses, and you have an investment team that's going to be coming in and looking at these, set them up in ClientLink. If you've got somebody who owns a subdivision and you're one of the GCs that's going to come in there and you're one of the builders that's coming in and building some of the units, fantastic. We have people who own office buildings and stretches of strip malls and things like that. Those would be the clients for any of the tenant improvement projects. They're in there too. It is far more than just a potential homeowner or a current homeowner. We even have some of our clients who actually have banks and lending establishments set up as ClientLink users just so they can follow along with any of the adjustments that come up on the budget or pull some of the reports as well. Just because of the nature of ClientLink, it does a fantastic job replacing the Google Calendar plus Google Docs or Google Drive plus Smart Sheets plus
1,000 emails really back and forth, as you're going through. It can be really great for owners reps. So I know we'll sometimes see that on larger residential projects, on commercial projects where there'll be, owners reps involved, sometimes, designers involved, owners, and of course investors, agents involved. So there's a lot of different depending on, again, your business model, the types of projects you're working on, there might be a pretty broad definition of who your client is, and this is really going to be great for any of them. We see that, of course, on, all those scenarios that you described, a lot of times on commercial projects that are, of course, large commercial projects it works well on, but especially for some of those where you're looking at, again, those build outs, those office spaces, those retail spaces, those, restaurants, all the additional building that's going on there. This is really just a great tool for any type of client or owner. So, kind of keep that in mind. And that's one of the great things about being able to set up different pieces of this portal that you turn on and off. The client selections may not be as relevant on a commercial job, so maybe you would turn that off and just use the change orders here. But maybe you do have things like RFIs or submittals that you're going to need to get some approvals on, so you can make those available in the portal. And it really just is completely up to you as to what you choose to allow access to, which gives you not only control, but it allows you to really use it for different scenarios, all different types of work there as well.
Now, one last note too, because I see a couple of questions that kind of touch on this. Almost everything that we've taken a look at today in ClientLink is available in report forms on ConstructionOnline proper. So when you log into your account, if you wanted to pull a selection book, for example, once the home is complete, you can generate a report that you can then share with the customer as a PDF. If you're working through the change orders, you can generate a change order summary report to also include in that book. For most of the project tracking, like punch lists, the closeout punch list, and all these different tools, even the calendars and the schedules, all of this information is reportable. And hopefully, for those of you who are handing off some kind of like a project completion packet to your customers, it'll give them a lot of the same information that they've been seeing throughout the life of this project. And you're just giving it to them either as a hard copy or a paper copy, or perhaps, if you guys choose to, you can even keep it available on ConstructionOnline indefinitely. So if it's an office space or if it's a home and you had happy clients for the first wave of those projects, they will absolutely be coming back to you guys when it comes time to revisit these projects or start on some of those remodeling as well. So, who is that? That's not Polly.
That's not Polly, yeah. I think that was a different one that we signed off on, yeah.
Oh, that's fair.
That looks like your signature, Ian.
Oh, it could be. But again, as you're taking a look through this, once again, even while you're working with the customer, ClientLink does a fantastic job with these customer portals to provide all the details and the resources and the communication to make them happy homeowners or happy office owners or just happy owners.
Yeah.
But it also has all of that information collected together in one place so that you can report off of it well and give them a tangible completion package when they're done, which I also love.
Yeah, it is. There's just so much great documentation that you can generate. Another great question, just really about how do you track kind of your clients' usage. So one thing to note is if we come back into, just ConstructionOnline, we're logged in here. When you log into your project overview, you've got this great latest project activity. So if we're wanting to look at, what's my client been up to in their portal, this gives you a great way to see that. Not only are you going to get those emails when things are approved or when new messages are sent, but their activity is going to log onto the project timeline just like your team's activity does, so that you can come in and see really quickly, okay, I see that Polly has, approved a selection. I see that she's added a comment for me on a picture. Maybe she's downloaded a file or, approved a change order, whatever it is. We'll be able to see all of that activity right here in the newsfeed, kind of side by side with all the other project activity as well.
Now, again, Holly, I know you mentioned this a few minutes ago, but this is unfortunately going to have to wrap up all the time that we have for you guys. If you do have follow-up questions or anything else that comes through, don't forget, you can always reach out to us by phone at 1-800-700-8321, or you can reach us by email at info@uda1.com. If you guys have follow-up questions or anything like that, reach out to us after the webinar at any point. Also, don't forget that this webinar, just like all the webinars that we've done for the past several months, has been recorded. We will be linking it and providing it on demand from our webinar page. If you go to ConstructionOnline.com or UDATechnologies.com, find the events section, you'll find all of our, upcoming, all of our upcoming events and all of our past recordings for previous webinars and the Lunch and Learns right here. So if you guys are interested in reviewing anything that we've talked about, come take a peek. Also, don't forget, this time, not next week, but the following week, we're going to actually have a special guest, Ed Earl, who's going to come and talk about his experience with the construction industry. He's been working in the construction industry, managing client expectations now for 25 years. He's got some fantastic insights, and you guys should definitely join us for that. Again, 2 weeks from today, starting at 4 o'clock Eastern, we'll have Ed Earl sharing his expertise. Next week, though, we are going to be hitting our next in our series of Lunch and Learns, starting Wednesday at noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern, where we are covering getting the most out of your estimate reports in ConstructionSuite. This is a ConstructionSuite estimating series or estimating session that we're going to be doing, and we're going to be talking about all the great reporting capabilities and how you can customize these, and it's going to be a very, very informative look at some of the great tools that people often skip over as they're working with the estimates. So next week, Lunch and Learn, Wednesday at noon Central. The following week, we've got Ed Earl at 3 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock Eastern on Thursday, and then come back to this webinar page if you guys want to see today's recording or any of our past recordings. They're all located conveniently down here at the bottom where you can pull them up at any time.
And with that, I think we are out of time. As always, though, we do want to thank you guys for really investing some time with us this afternoon. We hope this has been an informative session for you. And if you do have questions maybe that we weren't able to get to today during the webinar, again, feel free to reach out to us. But it's been great working with all of you today. And until next time, hope you guys have a great rest of your afternoon there.
Yep. Thanks, everyone, and take care.